Hey guys, welcome back to Everything Happens for a Reason, but what the fuck? I'm your host, Michaela Peppercorn, and I'm actually really excited for the stuff I'm going over today in today's episode. Without further ado, welcome to episode number 2, The Gift of Gab. Okay, so I'm going to try to be a little bit more myself in this podcast because I feel like last time I sounded like a legit robot. But today what I want to talk about is something that has honestly bothered me for a long time. And it's something that I feel everyone has a different perspective on, and that is friendships. For me, friendships have always been a backhanded experience, and what I mean by that is I've always been the person doing the inviting and basically the only one who puts any effort in. And honestly, I feel like that drives from my need to be liked, but we'll get into that at a later date. I would say the most significant time in which I felt hurt or disappointed in my friendships was really when this perspective clicked to me, and that was when I was 16 years old. It was right around my 16th birthday, and I was really excited. And I remember I planned it out for months, and I made sure to let people know about it way in advance, because in my mind, I thought that they would try their best to make it. Boy, was I wrong. So I had planned an entire scavenger hunt, but like at stores. It was like really trendy at the time. But anyway, I even decorated my mom's car, and her and I made a cake together, and no one showed. I was devastated, so she ended up inviting my grandma and my cousin, and we spent the whole day together doing the scavenger hunt, and it was so much fun. But one lesson I learned from that was that the people that I assumed were my friends, like people who I had helped with homework or boy problems or literally anything they needed help with at any time, were not friends. They literally were just using me to get the things they wanted from me. And honestly, looking back at that 16-year-old girl, it really hurts my heart. All I wanted was friends, and I just wanted to have a special birthday. And honestly, the more I look back on that, I did not deserve to be treated like that. Anyway, the lesson from that is that you can't expect other people to be nice to you or do the things that you would do for them, because in all reality, genuine people are hard to find. So I'm constantly working on protecting myself, and I really try not to get my hopes up because it's really hard when someone lets you down. Okay, we're done with that sub-story. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the concept of drama. So I've had friends in the past who have come up to me and said something along the lines of, well, so-and-so doesn't like you, and they were talking about you the other day, and blah, blah, blah. And honestly, to a blind eye, this might be something you're grateful for your friend. Like, you're like, thanks for telling me. But as I've looked back on it, I realized something, and I feel like it's very important to share, and that is, if your friend is constantly telling you about other people, talking negatively about you, think to yourself for a moment, what makes other people comfortable enough talking around your friend enough to speak negatively about me? If that person is willing enough to speak poorly of someone who isn't even in the room, what was said by you as my friend to make that person feel that speaking negatively toward me was allowed? And why was nothing said to try to protect me? Most people will not talk shit about someone if they're constantly being corrected by them and like their friend. And they'll move on because drama is literally most of the time just a mess. Anyway, and people might dispute this, and they might say, well, my friend gets the scoops that I know who likes me and who doesn't like me. And one thing I have to say to that is, why do you care? Why do you care that so-and-so is talking about you when you aren't even present in the conversation? Like, you're living rent-free in their head. And I know it can be hard because everyone wants to go and know what people say about them. But personally, I have never, ever felt good after hearing what someone said about me behind my back. A good way to set a boundary to that person or friend, if you don't want to hear it, is to simply say, I really appreciate you trying to keep me in the loop, but hearing those things really upsets me. And I'd appreciate if we don't encourage that person anymore. All drama is a cry for attention. And if someone's saying things to you about you, it's most likely for one of these 3 reasons. And they are, 1, they want to be you, which means you have something that they don't have and it drives them nuts. So they're going to try to make you self-conscious to maybe give up that thing you're good at. 2, they want to be with you. This is common with like a crush or someone who finds you attractive, but they say things to make you feel insecure about yourself. And the final option is 3, bothering you in some way makes them feel superior about themselves. And honestly, if you are that person, if you're the person that's constantly starting drama and you're always having someone else's name come out of your mouth, you really need to look at yourself and self-assess what part of you feels threatened enough by others to try to find other ways to communicate with like other people without bringing people down. Another thing I've realized in the past 2 months is that mean girls don't just stop in high school. In fact, those mean girls that were horrible in high school will continue to act the same way they did throughout life, and you'll eventually run into them again. And this is because these people, it's not, I guess I'm saying girls, but it's not necessarily all girls. Guys could be mean too, I guess, but girls are really mean. But the reason that these people still continue to act the way they do is because they're still living their high school highs. They had a great time in high school, and honestly, they want to live through that for the rest of their life. And they're going to keep doing that until they realize that they need to mature and move past high school and actually do something. Anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is the title of this episode, and that is The Gift of Gab. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a girl who said that I have the gift of gab. I knew this was a backhanded compliment by the way it was said and the laughter that ensued after. So after a chat, I actually looked it up, and what it means is, a short definition, is someone who has a gift of gab is a person who talks constantly about meaningless things. And honestly, that shit hurt. I was offended, and for a few days, I just stopped talking to that person and really just I didn't speak when I wasn't spoken to. And that's when I realized something. The things that I got made fun of for or growing up and people saying I talk too much or wearing funky clothes or being naive are the things that have actually been most admirable about myself now. I'm actually really happy that she said that because it was the last straw for me to decide to start this very podcast, because I feel like if I'm going to talk, I want things I say to be meaningful and have purpose. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Everything Happens for a Reason, but what the fuck? And following along with this journey, it means so much to me. I wanted to start leaving every episode with a closing statement, and I think this one just fits me and the message that I'm trying to give off. So here it is. As you go out into the world, you might not be the funniest or smartest or even prettiest person, but the one thing you can be is the kindest person in every room.